Good morning, Liverpool supporters. Neil Atkinson, Craig Hannan from the heart of the city, from Man Island, contentious at the minute Man Islands, but we'll put that to one side and we will crack on with all the chat you need around, first of all, Jarrod Bowen. Now, Craig, Jarrod Bowen links emerged yesterday that I like how it's framed that Klopp's a big fan of him, that Klopp likes the player a lot. The framing of that's quite interesting. Often we hear that Liverpool like the player, often we get the feeling that there's something around Michael Edwards. There was something very specific here that Jurgen Klopp basically thinks Jarrod Bowen's good at footy.
I like that idea that he's just sat in the meeting and gone, Jarrod, I'm going to throw a curveball at you.
Bear with me.
I think, Klopp's
You said there were no bad ideas. You said there were no bad ideas, and I'm just saying Jarrod Bowen.
I'm interested to know, and I know I was asking you yesterday, so I'm putting you a bit on the spot here around his stats, because when you look at him as a profile, rather than a name, because he's not a big name, Neil, that I would get excited about. When you look at as a profile, it strikes me as someone from the outside that looks similar to someone like Jota, where he's had a couple of seasons in the Championship. I think Jota had one. He's come up to the Premier League. He's got similar goals. I think his XG is slightly lower. But in terms of what he can add to Liverpool's squad, I think that's why they're looking at this, rather than someone that comes in and goes, right, I'm gonna want to play every week. I think that's where they'll be looking and thinking that's someone that they can attract, that keeps sort of squad harmony. I mean, us as football fans, we don't want that. We want the big name to come in and we want the disruptor to come in and energise and sort of and force the others into having a brilliant season or forcing their way in. Not someone like Jarrod Bowen who's to prove himself, and he's just not an exciting one for me, is he?
I think he'd make. So I like him, and I like him as a player. I think his numbers are quite interesting. I think he profiles like a very good finisher. There's a style of play thing where West Ham played, and let's be really clear about this, West Ham didn't play a high pressing game. When they played to press, they were ruthless and they were really good at it, but what they would then do is they then fall back in and relax and just go back into shape for long periods of time. So it wasn't the idea as you get, if Liverpool, I mean, no one presses for 90 minutes, but Liverpool press more. But West Ham did play on the counter-attack, but they played in in a very controlled counter-attacking way. Moyes nailed what it was that he wanted. Yeah. Bowen, to me, would make sense if we didn't have Harvey Elliott. It's the Harvey Elliott aspect that I'm just not quite convinced by, in that he wants to play off the right and he wants to come in on his left foot. Now, we saw Elliott in midfield, but I'm not convinced that that's where they see him over the course of a Premier League season. No. And it might be that they're thinking about moving Salah inside, but then I'm a bit like, well, why didn't they do that even in the 30 minutes that he had when they played Chamberlain there? And listen, these things are fluid. For me, I think that everyone needs to sort of understand, I think, and it's Robbie made the point to me first when I was very much going in an opposite direction, is that I think Liverpool are looking to upgrade Shaqiri. I think we can talk about wanting someone to come in and be an absolutely unbelievable front three option, but I think Liverpool are actually looking to upgrade Shaqiri. I think that's the thing that they want to do in this window, and that means that it's possible we are going to be a little bit underwhelmed, not least as I was when we literally bought Shaqiri, frankly, but I think Liverpool may well have the idea that they'd like someone who can come in and be an option to help you change shape. We actually haven't got that many people who will play wide in a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1 or a 4-2-3-1. We haven't got loads of those players. And it wouldn't surprise me if part of what Liverpool are looking for is someone to come and do that with them and then be able to be an option in another shape from time to time, rather than the idea of someone who's going to come in and immediately Roberto Firmino is worried about his place.
Yeah, we've used it, both of us have used the word underwhelmed there, and I think that throughout sort of Jurgen Klopp's time, some of his best signings, at times some people will have said that they've been underwhelmed by that signing. Even Diogo Jota was a player that no one really would have been massively excited. We wouldn't have been going to town if it hadn't have just come off the back of the Thiago signing. It almost like that, you group those two together in the excitement. But it was the same with Mane. It was the same with numerous footballers that we've signed throughout Jurgen Klopp's time. But what they've got right, and why I have trust in it, is that they've hit that sweet spot, haven't they? I
like the player, and he's good in front of goal. You've only got to look at his Championship numbers playing off the right to see that, double figures, 3 seasons on the bounce in the Championship, gets 8 last season for West Ham. Being honest, if there's legs in this, I'd like a couple more there, because I think that Liverpool do well at taking a player who's done double figures in the past and getting him adding sort of 6, 7, 8 into that. He's not a player who I'm very, very much against. but it just doesn't quite make sense right now for me in a squad building sense. Right-sided, but comes in on his left foot. We've got 2 of them.
Yeah.
And Liverpool do appear to be committed to Elliott. You know, maybe we've missed something, but Liverpool do appear to be completely committed to Elliott. So it just doesn't quite. That's where it doesn't quite make sense. That said, a little bit of Dutch Twitter for you. Not that type. Rick Elfring. Who is a PSV watcher, and he works for Eindhoven's Dagblad, which is a newspaper. It's a great word indeed. It says Borussia Dortmund is currently the club that is very serious with a transfer for Donyell Malen. Liverpool, not now. I'm translating this obviously through, well, I'm not translating it, Google is. A final agreement between PSV and Dortmund has not yet been reached, but all parties hope to find each other in the coming days. And he says to be continued. Rick, a couple of weeks back, was very Liverpool are in for Malen.
Yeah.
So something's changed in Liverpool's outlook and Liverpool's approach, and I don't think it's even a simple conversation around either homegrown or cash. I think Liverpool are being a bit weird about a number 9. I think that Liverpool are going to basically spend 2 years being big number 9 fridges. And the reason why is because I think that they it wouldn't surprise me if there's competing ideas at the club around, which will include the manager and maybe even in the manager's own mind, around the idea of, do we want to go and get someone who is an out-and-out, ruthless 9, or do we want to keep with what's worked with us? And to be really honest with you, Craig, I don't think Liverpool have got a set answer, and I think they're still trying to almost work out the framing of the question.
I think Malen throughout the whole summer he's felt like one of those footballers that's just always going to Borussia Dortmund. I've felt like that. I actually don't think we're going to sign Bowen. I think unless he literally signs today, I always ask the question, like, why has this news come out, or why have Liverpool allowed this news to come out? And it's come from the local patch of journalists who, throughout this summer there haven't been many stories come through them in terms of this is who Liverpool are after. In the same way that it was the same last season where Diogo Jota just comes out of nothing. It's been the same previous seasons where they've put out a story and then the next day we've signed him, and it's almost been like, well, we'll tell you now because we've got it done.
So you think if they don't do Bowen today, they're not doing him?
I don't think they will do them.
So they've unpinned the tweet.
They what?
They've unpinned the tweet.
What?
Liverpool haven't got a pinned tweet anymore.
Oh, this is proper summer transfer stuff. Who told Rob Goodman told you?
No. I do my research. They've unpinned the tweet.
So I think that the only way they sign him,
that tweet's unpinned. Flapping in the breeze.
I think the only way they sign him is if it's literally done and they've gone the journey. We'll give you something for today. We're interested in Bowen, and then it happens today. Otherwise, I think it's a smoke screen for something else.
What's the something else?
Oh God, I hope a lot more exciting.
Do you know what? So I'm about to say something, which is last time I did this, I mentioned Dele Alli, and everyone shut the bed. My thing at the minute, and I can't believe these words are leaving my mouth because he's least my type of football imaginable.
I love this story.
But at the right price, and by that I mean a low one, I think there's a really strong Adama Traore argument. And that's so not like me.
I think it was Michael for upstairs he's only got shiny arms.
I said this last time. The reason why. So I'll just come with me on this. We've got a break, by the way, Sam, or are we just rattling through?
I think we're going through.
Oh, we're just rattling through, Sam, so I'll come on to your comments in a minute. The reason, and there'll be lots of people absolutely stunned. So I love end product. I'm obsessed with end product. And the Traore criticism is there isn't enough end product. And I'm with it 100%. But my Traore thing is this. There is not a single game. It's a thought experiment, this. And by the way, if you can come up with one, tell me. There's not a single game, a single opponent, home or away, or a game state that isn't outrageous, like 4-0 in either direction, where if on 60 minutes you look to the bench and Adama Traore was taking his tracky top off, you wouldn't think, yeah, fucking hell, let's go. So I'll give you a really good example. Liverpool are 1-0 up, coming under tons of pressure away at Paris Saint-Germain in the quarter-finals of the Champions League. You look at the bench on 60 and Adama Traore's taking his tracky top off. You're going, is right. We've got the away goal and now we're bringing this fella on, and Juan Bernat does not know what he's up against. I can go further, where it's 2-1 against Manchester City. We've got the big centre-halves on. They're beating us 2-1 at the Etihad. There's 15 to go. They're pinned back. The Reds are on top, but we just can't quite make it happen. We bring Adama Adama Traore on and he just starts doing little shuttles around the penalty area and they're fouling him and they're knocking him and they don't want to know.
Or winning 2-1 at the Etihad.
Well, winning 2-1 at the Etihad's great.
Stick him up top,
and
everyone else to bend.
And just twat the ball at him. He chases it down.
I've literally seen him score that goal for Wolves, haven't we?
And so there is no game. So would I ever want to see him start a match for Liverpool? Oh no. But the idea of Adama, and it's but not so. When last year when it was like 50 million, I was like, fuck that off. But the idea you could possibly get him for 25 right now, that's an upgrade on Shaqiri.
I'm clipping this, right? And then whenever in 6 months' time Liverpool sign him and he's burning your head out, I'm gonna look at this, you gobshite. This is your fault. This is someone from Liverpool's watching this.
This is what you
Mickey Edwards is watching this going, maybe Neil's right.
I know. But genuinely, and I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, honestly, when I say this. I cannot believe it. Because you would have to obviously start him sometimes. You couldn't just always have him like as a siege weapon. But I think it'd be absolutely...
It's a weapon.
But it's sort of in a really weird way. It's sort of what City are signing with Grealish. Grealish's main ability is to draw free kicks, to get you 40 yards up the pitch. And simultaneously, he's obviously really clever and good around the penalty area, which would be the Traore question. But the idea of a player who's just consistently able to move you 45, 50 yards up the pitch with the ball at his feet is genuinely terrific from a Liverpool point of view.
I think you can usually convince me of anything.
I don't want to convince anyone. No, I actually don't want to convince anyone. This is just a thing that's in my head that I feel I've got to say out loud. And
I get all of those things. Like he's one of those, if you're in the away end and it's 1-1 and it's Old Trafford and you're bringing on Adama Traore, the away end's like up going, come on, let's go. It's one of those where you cheer the sub on, isn't it? Because you're just thinking, like, if I was in the other end watching this, I'd be thinking, fuck, and it's irrational. Yeah, like, because he doesn't score goals, he doesn't set them up either. Which is
absolutely not for him.
A key attribute for any potential winger that we sign.
Possibly Craig, but I think you're being too reductive. What have we got in the comments? Thanks for joining us, by the way. There's a lot of you on. Where are we? Indeed, John McClane's back. Excellent news indeed. Still dealing with Nagatomi Plaza. You'll get there eventually. Mark Grimes agrees with Craig. He says that Bowen doesn't seem likely as it's not in the media. Adam Kane had a terrible time with the Seagulls yesterday, mate. It's a fucking nightmare.
Big bastards, aren't they? They're getting bigger. I think they're eating each other, and then that's making them bigger. Like, I see more and more of them mauling each other. Have you seen this? Got onto them. Like, they now don't care what they eat. They'll just eat their own.
There's no solidarity amongst them whatsoever.
We were eating our lunch just outside Man Island a couple of weeks ago with Josh, and there was this one stared at us the whole time because we were eating our sandwiches, and Josh was getting really worried about it, and this lad just walked back and just looked at him and goes, "What the fuck are you looking at? Fuck off!" And the seagull flew away, and Josh is like, "That's how you deal with them."
You say that, but that lad got pecked to death last night. Barry Devaney says that Bowen's similar he is with the angles. Bowen's similar mind to begin. Will die out next week when no one else is linked. Very much so. Martin says, if you name our past 11s, Gini and Hendo with the weakest links. I'm not sure about that. I would take Jordan Henderson ahead of Tielemans any day of the week, to be frank, Martin. But I'm a bit of a Tielemans skeptic in that I think he's tidy, but I don't think he's absolutely incredible. Mick Moran says that 8 goals and 5 assists in the league last year in the same age as Jota, but he points out the Elliott progression point.
I just think Liverpool nowadays, it feels like in the past Liverpool almost as a bit of a PR move will have sent into the media, or will have let it known that they're after. I remember Diego Costa in 13-14 that they were going after Diego Costa, or Mkhitaryan or whatever, and it was almost seen as like a bit of a PR move to show everyone that Liverpool are going after this calibre of player, and they don't have to do that now, but also they're smarter than going for that. They almost go for the player just before then, at the sweet spot that I talked about. So I don't see why they let this news go out if they haven't either got it done or it's a smokescreen.
Absolutely. Aman Shah says Holzek, the Czech lad linked popped up again. Low price, young age, low risk, plenty of potential. He's an 18 enormous Czech who plays centre forward. He's a massive Czech,
like Chris Wood.
Yeah, he's huge,
but Czech
and 18.
I can hear the excitement in your voice.
Yeah, I mean,
I know you don't want to say it, but I can hear it.
I fucking love a big number 9. I just think it sorts so much shit out. Like, everyone knows who he is. You can see him when you go up for the corners and that. There he is. I like football. It's like to be really clear who they are from a distance.
I like them if they're Lewandowski.
Oh, he's a great one.
Yeah, not really Chris Wood though.
No, I'm not asking for. Listen, Chris Wood's got to stay at Burnley now. It occurred to me that Chris Wood could be Burnley's ever player this morning in the shower. I was just having to think about Burnley in the shower. Chris Wood could be Burnley's best ever player.
Oh my God, we just got an insight into your mind there.
Yeah. Neil applying the conditioner.
How do we get out? How do we get out?
L'Oreal, conditioner on. Chris Wood could be Burnley's best ever player. Could be the biggest ever Burnley legend.
Wow.
Absolutely. Where else do we have? What else do we have all the way through? Barry Richards presumably going for Traore on the cheap. Oily arms, someone asks for indeed. Yeah, a lot of seagull chat all of a sudden.
Imagine we signed him and then he didn't oil his arms. You'd be fuming, wouldn't you?
Maybe
it's not what we paid for.
Maybe Wolves have got like an in-house arm oiler, and we'd have to buy him
Sign
as well.
Sign him, part of the deal.
Yeah, we have to insist the arm oiler comes with
25 million or 26 with the arm oiler.
Yeah, that's what we need.
We'll have the arm oiler.
Yeah, absolutely. Bit of grief for me just wearing a white shirt. I'm just, to be honest, there's a couple of reasons why I'm going on holiday next week, so I'm just trying to not.
It's actually not just a white shirt.
No, there's
patterns on it. I like the way of it.
Little bits and pieces. John Achterberg is not rubbing oil onto Traore's arms. Says John Achterberg. No, it's not John Achterberg. On this. Where are we? People basically saying anyone will improve under Klopp. That's sort of true, but I do still think that I'm waiting to see it with Minamino.
But also, there's a bigger conversation to be had around like why does it always have to be up to Klopp to improve every single player?
Yeah, can he just have a really good one?
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, every player you want them to improve, and they should do, given the age profile that we're mostly signing at. But we also shouldn't be signing players and going, well, Klopp will just make this guy, from Jarrod Bowen we'll get 6 more goals and 2 more assists because he's working with Klopp. Yeah,
Phil Allen says I've been going on about Traore for weeks, have I? I mean, to be honest, Phil, I do a lot of shows. I don't think I've mentioned him other than very briefly at the end of a previous talk.
No, we did a Talking Reds and you mentioned him.
At the very end.
It feels like you're campaigning.
Does it? I'm sorry.
To me, anyway.
To you personally, no one else. I just
Change the title to this. Neil Atkinson wants Adama Traore.
Do not do that. Honestly, do not do that. It's arguably my filthiest thought.
It's not. Chris Wood being Burnley's best ever player is.
That's not that. That's just a fact. Name me a better one. No, nothing you see. Name me a better one. Alan the Cat, and this is where I think I end up. Bowen looks good, but not Liverpool quality, I think. And I think that's sort of where you end up. I wouldn't have, for instance, I think if Tottenham were linked to them, I think I'd be able to really see how that could work for them. And he's the sort of player Tottenham should go for. Even in a universe where they keep Kane, the idea of Son one side and Bowen the other, I think could work really, really well for them. I think that's where you end up. That Bowen looks good, and he is good. And I don't like the sort of the sneering, we didn't get in the Champions League by people like Bowen. His goal record speaks for itself. I don't think he is quite what we want at this point, as I've said before, but he's clearly a really good player, and he grafts, and he's enormous, and he doesn't get injured, and all of those things count. It's been Talking Reds. Have you enjoyed it?
I have enjoyed it, yeah. Good. I have enjoyed it. I don't want us to sign Jarrod Bowen, but as you just sort of alluded to there, it wouldn't surprise me if we signed him and he ended up being really, really good, because you can't give them praise for unearthing these sort of gems that you sign them just as they're about to be brilliant, and then say, no, we don't want them to try this again. If that makes sense. Yeah,
absolutely. Just dead quick, Alan Shaw says I'd rather we gazump McNeil once Everton agree a price for him instead of getting Bowen. You see, McNeil is more of a, and this is where I'm not against that, by the way, and part of the reason why is McNeil is more of a wide midfielder than he is a wide forward. Bowen's a wide forward who plays off the right. McNeil's a wide midfielder who plays off the left. And then the idea of McNeil effectively being able to be used in a couple of positions across the pitch, and he's done some centre mid stuff for Burnley as well. That would appeal to me a little bit in terms of getting the player and getting something on the pitch. Ultimately, when this season starts, Harvey Elliott is going to struggle to get games ahead of Mo Salah on the right hand side. The idea of bringing someone else in who ends up in the same position, Mo Salah's just going to play every fucking game until his legs drop off, frankly, and he's got no interest, no truck in any of your conversations around rotation. Anyway, thank you very much indeed. We've got loads of Champions Tops at 50% discount. Today is 12 of your months since Liverpool lifted the Premier League title. Not since they won it on Boxing Day at Leicester, but since they lifted the Premier League title. Do get them to commemorate them. We were always hanging on to them, and we part of why we get these things at times is to sell them, obviously, but it's also because we think it's what you'll like. We were all hoping for the parade. It's not going to happen, and we all know why. Lots of sad reasons why, but do consider getting in on the Champions top. It did happen. It was fantastic. Was it flawed? Of course it was. We didn't quite get what we wanted, but we are going to again next year. I, for one, am on the march with Jurgen Klopp and Adama Traore's army. Craig Hannan, Neil Atkinson. Subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. See you later.